Oh, hello. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. And I guess welcome back to myself. If you guys noticed, I've been gone for a little while. I've been out of town, actually. And I got back the night before yesterday. So pretty late at night. And I just went straight to bed. And I tried to make an episode yesterday, but I ran into some problems and my sink was clogged and my snake wasn't big enough. And anyways, I ran out of time yesterday to record, basically. And then today I wanted to record and I got on, and right as I was about to start recording, I noticed that Big Jim was actually streaming with John Hall on their All the Mods 10 series. So I actually joined that stream, or I was watching the stream. I didn't join to play with them. And, we just chatted for quite a while. And that was actually a lot of fun. And if you were part of that stream and you said hello to me, if you recognized me, that was also very nice. Thank you. I certainly enjoyed talking to everybody on there, and that was fun. Anyways, let's actually do this thing. I'm going to do my best to make, it's kind of late at night, but I'm going to do my best to stay up and make an episode, edit, and have it uploaded by tomorrow, because it's been a very long time since I put out a video. So here we go. I am a little bit rusty, so forgive me for that as well. Anyways, enough rambling. Sorry, a little more rambling. Advanced AE had an update, and shout out to CN. He actually changed the way this works. I think that's my key. But when you change the color on your quantum armor, it actually also changes the actual item color in it, not just in the world. So you can see in my, the armor that I'm wearing also changed, as well as, when you actually wear it. So that is super cool. I just wanted to quickly show that off and shout out to that. Anyways, let's jump into the episode. So here's what happened right after I finished recording a couple weeks ago. You might have noticed our waste tank is completely full, and we had our little system set up down here, our logic system, where it turns off the reactor if these are going on. And now you can see this is turned on, and it's powering this activation Redstone port logic adapter, I guess. And so our reactor is currently turned off. And this was activated by, so you can see this guy is idle, this guy is idle, this guy is outputting. So the critical waste level is outputting. And if you take a look at the tooltips, it says output when the reactor has reached a critical level of waste of 90%. So as soon as we hit 90% of the waste tank being full, 90% with nuclear waste, it's going to output that to shut off our reactor. And you can see it did happen that. So our reactor is currently off, and this is outputting because our waste level is high. Now here's the problem. If you may have noticed, this is actually completely full. And what happened is, with our burn rate being as high as it is, and this is nowhere near the maximum amount for it, even after the reactor shuts off at 90%, there's enough residual heat within the reactor that is going to continue to burn fuel and produce nuclear waste. And that's what happened. So at 90%, it shut off, but there's enough residual heat where this tank actually filled up to 100% and actually leaked radiation around in my environment. And as a result of that, I lost my puppy dog. So he is forever gone, never to be seen again. Sad day. Anyways, so he actually died, and also our panda. If you guys remember our panda, we had a little panda roaming around here for a long time. Oh, why is this back? Be right back. I'm going to disable productive farming again. Ta-da! Okay, I cannot stand productive farming, so I had to get rid of all those flowers and stuff. Anyways, it's disabled now. And for some reason, it's nighttime and my thing isn't working. I may have broken it. Why are you not daytiming? Maybe it was just because I logged in. So anyways, as I was saying, our panda guy is dead. So that is also a sad moment. Rest in peace. I'm sorry for my shortcomings. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. Where were we? So basically what I'm getting at is Mechanism gives you these logic adapters to be able to run logic to shut off your reactor, but it is completely freaking useless because you're going to have a meltdown anyways. Like the whole reason is to prevent the melt or like prevent radiation from leaking into your environment. But the 90% on the critical waste level is obviously not good enough because we had that issue. And then the coolant issue, like where it has high temperatures, where you like run out of water, as you guys saw in the previous episode, if you watch that, then, you know, that is also useless because when you shut off the reactor, you need to flood it with water. And then when you flood it with water, the temperature comes down and then it just like cycles through. So it'll turn off, fill it with water, turn back on, turn off, fill it with water, turn back, you know, like it just does that in cycles. And each time it runs, it'll sustain a little bit more damage until it explodes. So even that doesn't, you know, it doesn't work. So basically we need to, this right now, we might as well not use it. So, but in this channel, I don't like to just not do it. So we're going to come up, we're going to engineer a super complicated over the top overkill system for it and basically use it as an opportunity for a little bit more nerd talk. And because this involves redstone, we're going to be using a little big redstone. If you guys remember from when we set up our enchanter swapper setup thing. So we're going to be using that mod again. But before we get started with that, we need to empty this because if I do anything, this is going to leak. Again, it's literally completely full at 100%. And I need to put the waste away in a barrel. If I break these guys, it's going to turn on the reactor, I'm afraid. Because it's inverted, right? So if it is receiving a signal, it's going to be off. Can I scram it? No, I can't. So let's make some more waste barrels. How about 5? Can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're gonna do this from the waste port, which is on the reactor. And we do need to define a side because it is a mechanism thing. And we're going to output that chemical. And I'm not gonna use amounts or anything to the waste barrel. Top side, I guess. So that should be good enough. And if we use our super factory manager thing, we should, I think it's this, right? So here's the waste port and our waste barrels. So you can see now that is turning on again. I am going to scram because we don't want that to be on. So these guys are now basically all of them are completely full. Wow. And this will dissipate over time slowly, you can see. So it's going to take a while, and I don't think you can time one these to make it faster. Let's try time one and time in the bottle. So that doesn't seem to be doing anything. Time in the bottle, maybe? Maybe time in the bottle a little bit faster? No. It looks the same. I don't think you can accelerate those. Anyways. So, back on track with this, if I don't lose my train of thought. Basically, we need this system to be better. Oh, god damn it. Come on. High temp, critical, right? These guys are still the same. Okay. So, we need to design a system where if a failsafe is triggered, I have a couple of requirements, okay? And one of the requirements is if a failsafe is triggered, I want the reactor to shut off and stay turned off. So I don't want it to, as soon as that logic port, if that logic port, let's say it's has high heat, right? and it shuts off, if the heat comes down, I don't want it to turn back on. I want to manually reset it. So requirement number 1 is that if any of these fail safes are triggered, the reactor stays shut off and it doesn't come back on until I physically look at it and reset it. Requirement number 2 is based on which one of these are triggered, we're going to have to do something. So if we have a critical waste level, then we're going to have to dump some of the waste so it doesn't overfill into these barrels once the waste inside of them goes down a little bit. And then if the heat is too high, or the damage, I guess, as well, we're going to flood it with coolant. So we have to be able to track those things. Now, if you guys remember something, so these guys, when they output a redstone signal, if we have just a line of redstone going somewhere and they're outputting signals, there is no way to distinguish on this line which one is outputting, because as soon as one of them is powered, then this whole redstone line is powered. So we can actually use, I'm going to try not to, I hate this pickaxe. I need to put it on not InstaBreak. InstaBreak isn't even on. Unbelievable. Or is that on? That's not on? We'll try that. Anyways, we need to be able to distinguish which one of these ports, which one of these adapters is outputting a redstone signal. And I'm going to use the same thing we did with these guys, but with Little Big Redstone. And I guess I'm going to try to demonstrate this really quickly. Little Big Redstone, if you don't know about it, just literally go to the guide me, and the descriptions on this mod is exceptional. Hats off to Sweds for actually making a really good guide for his mod. So this will describe everything, and then you just need to kind of basically know what the logic gates do, and there's truth tables and everything in here too. But a little bit of maybe research into how logic works and how redstone works, and you're going to be up and running with this mod in no time. So anyways, something we can do with this mod is basically there's the microchip, and this allows us to have those gates where we make different redstone circuitry inside. So let's say I grab this logic array, which holds all of our gates and stuff inside. And when I open this, I'll be able to access those in here. Now, let's say we have a block of redstone. And this block of redstone is going to output a certain redstone signal power. And let's say, how can we, I think create has a thing. Aha, the Nixie tube. It took me freaking forever to find this. So anyways, this will basically show us the level of redstone that we're outputting. So this is a block of redstone. So obviously it's a power of 15. And if we step that redstone away from its source, each block, you can see the power goes down, right? So it's 15, this will be 14, or this will be 15 as well because of this, I think, right? Yeah. And then we're going to have 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10, right? So that's how that works. And we can actually use, so there's a power of 15 going into the microchip, right? And we need to basically define where it's coming in from, and that's the north side over here, if you look on the mini map. So we can take an IO port, an input-output port, and put it over here. And we're going to say, if you take a look at that, right now its mode is set to input on the north side, and it will input any signal greater than 1. And that is going to be fine because that's what we're looking for. So this redstone signal, if I open this or break this, you can see now there's a little port on this side that's going to accept that redstone power. That's basically our IO port. And then on the south side, we can put another IO port, and I'm going to change this to output, and it's going to be on the south side. And this is going to also output a redstone signal of 15, right? So, and then we need to connect these two together with this redstone wire thing. What is it called? Redstone bit. So now that power of 15 that's coming into here is going straight through out of this end. And if I put this Nixie tube over here, you can see that it's outputting a power level of 15 on this side. Now, even though this is power level of 15 going in, we can choose what strength signal we want to output. So instead of 15, I can change this to 8, for example. And when I save that, you can see now it's outputting a power of 8. We can use this ability from Little Big Redstone to basically change the amount of power coming out of a port, and then based on what power is being outputted, we can use that to distinguish between which port is outputting power. Does that make sense? So like this thing, for example, we can put another microchip over here and do the exact same thing. And this is going to be taking the input from the north. This is going to be outputting from the south, and we'll make this one, for example, power level of 3 and connect those two things together. So now imagine that imagine that these redstone blocks are our logic adapters from down here, and they're outputting a signal, right? And that signal we're going to pass through a microchip and basically step down the power level to 8 for this first one and to 3 for this second one. So now you can see that here is level 8 and here is level 3. That means because these two numbers are now different, we can distinguish, hey, if we're seeing a power level of 8 coming through, we know it's this port, this block of redstone that's passing it through. If it's power level of 3, we know that it's this. So basically, I'm going to be using these microchips to step down the redstone power level from those ports, just so we can distinguish which one is coming from. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully that wasn't too big of a complicated or too much of an explanation for something simple. But anyways, can we reset these? I basically wanted to show that off really quickly. So that is how we're going to be distinguishing all of those. Now, we can also color these microchips, and that's just for, aesthetics or organization. So this guy is high temperature, and I guess high temperature we can do red, which makes sense for high temperature, right? So the red one will be, and I know for a fact I'm going to forget which colors I pick. So we can put some sticky notes on these to label them as well. So here's our first guy right now. I know this one is high temperature, so that is going to go over there, and I will put the sticky note over there as well. And we can do edit and say click high temp. Done. So now every time I look at the sticky note, it'll pop up on my screen and it says high temp on it. So now that I kind of know, we can also just put a sign, but this is, in case you didn't know sticky notes, now you do. And this one is red, so we can, if we remember that we picked high temperature for the red one, then, that'll be that. So we have critical waste level, and our waste is kind of like a brownish poop color. So we can do brown dye for that. And again, sticky note. Oops. And we will call this critical waste level. Up next, we have critical damage. I can use orange for this one. Those guys are all set on the ports, and obviously from the top side, they're going to be receiving the signal, right? So I need to accept those signals on the top side and just make sure that this says the up is being input, and it's going to input everything greater than or equal to 1. So any redstone signal that touches this microchip from the top, it's going to go into this port, and then we can connect it to different things. So I'm going to do that same exact thing for all 4 of these guys, basically from the top. And then we will pass those signals through some thing and do some weird things. But let's take it one at a time. So this guy is high temp. Now, I did mention that if any of these things are, I'm trying to figure out how to explain or how to go about this where it makes the most sense chronologically, but you kind of, it doesn't fruition into the setup until you're basically done with the logic, but hopefully it'll make sense. Basically, when we get a signal, I want to output that redstone signal from somewhere else indefinitely until I reset it. So we're going to have to figure out a way to reset this guy. And the way I think I want to do that is by using sequencers. So if you go ahead and hold G on the sequencer, if you look at this section right here, it says the sequencer can be configured to have a second input port. Where the second input port is on, the internal counter of the sequence will be reset to 0. Basically what that means is when this first bit receives a redstone signal, the sequencer is going to start to count based on how many ticks you set the delay to, and then it'll stay completely filled in this mode, and you can see this is lit up brighter than this guy, so it's continually outputting redstone signal until it receives a secondary redstone pulse from this bit down below, and that will reset it, right? So when you can see when this guy comes in, it just reset the thing. So that seems like a perfect thing for us. And we can go ahead and use the sequencer. And what this is going to do, so if that redstone signal comes in, then we need to, I'm going to just put the delay to 1 tick. So it's just going to very quickly fill the whole thing. And it is going to reset. We need the reset port to be on. And it's going to give us the second, that second thing input, right? So now that is connected. So if we have high temperature, if I turn this on, our water is working, huh? Well, I don't want to mess with it right now. Just take my word for it. Basically, if our logic port is triggered, it's going to do a thing. And I guess we could just in case, we could put a pulse throttler. And what the pulse throttler does is it's just gonna, whatever amount duration the redstone signal coming in is, it's going to just throttle down to 1 tick. So let's say it's a 20 tick pulse that comes in. It's just gonna 1 pulse it. So just to kind of keep it simple. So we're gonna put that in between, and that will make sure every single time our sequencer just gets a 1 tick pulse. Now we need to receive a secondary redstone pulse to reset it. And I think on the reset, we can do it from the bottom. So let's go ahead and grab another input, another IO port. And this is going to be for the reset. And if I press a button somewhere, it's going to send out a redstone signal. And from the bottom, from the down, any strength redstone signal that comes in from the down will be our reset. So that guy is over here. I will again do the pulse throttler and zoom in so you guys can see. And then we put that as the secondary. So now this guy is set up where my OCD on these things is going to drive me crazy, but try to make it look nice. So basically we have our sequencer set up where if it receives the signal from the top, it's going to count up and continually output a redstone signal to some side that we choose. And then we're going to, again, choose to throttle that power of redstone signal down so we can distinguish which one it's coming from. And then if it receives a redstone signal from the bottom, it's going to reset the sequencer, which will be our reset switch. So that is that. I guess we can keep going on this guy. Now I'm going to output that signal to this backside, which is going to be facing east. So in the eastwardly direction, we are going to output this guy. And this needs to be an output. And I'm going to go a signal strength of 1. So we'll start with 1. And I said that was east, right? Yes. And so this guy will be strength of 1. This one will be 2, 3, and 4. And if we ever need to add more things, we can go 5 all the way up to 15. So that gives us some options. Now, when we connect this guy, anytime this runs, we're going to output a redstone signal to the back. Now, normal redstone, if you guys remember from that little demonstration, if we have if we use a redstone wire, if you look at the power on top, you can see it's 15, 14, 13. So in normal vanilla with redstone, the longer you go, your redstone power actually goes down. You can see this one's powered off. So this is going to be no good for us to use because it's going to change over distance. And we don't want that. We need something that doesn't basically step down the logic every block you move over. Because then that's going to completely ruin the way our logic is working in here. So a good way to handle that is by using Ender IO logic things, not logic, redstone conduits. That's what they're called. These guys. Okay. So on the back side, I'm going to have a redstone conduit. And now this first one was high temperature, right? And this is what needs to trigger our factory manager to pump this guy full of water, right? Because high temperature means we're running out of water. And so we need to activate that. So this is going to go, oops, boom, boom, boom. And unfortunately, this conduit does not connect to Super Factory Manager for some reason. If it did connect, we could just say, so if redstone is greater than 1, we could have just said if redstone equals 1, and this code would only run if the redstone is equal to 1. But in this case, that doesn't work. So I'm just going to say if redstone is greater than 0. And what we can do is we can just put another microchip over here. And then the microchip will be able to output that redstone signal. So this guy needs to be on output mode and it needs to be on the red. So we're inputting a redstone signal from here, and then it's going to output that to our Super Factory Manager, which is going to pull from the sink and flood the system. I hope you guys are not bored yet, but we're going to get through this. So we need an input and an output. And this guy is getting its input from the south side. Is that south? That's south. That seems strange. Okay. I don't know why I'm getting mixed up from that. So south side, any signal, no, not any signal. If we have a signal strength of 1, because this guy is signal strength of 1, because we only want to activate this if we have high temperature. I guess also if we have critical damage, just in case the damage is from heat, right? So this guy will be, it's 1, 2, this guy will be 3. So we also want to accept a signal strength of 3. So I'll put another IO port over here, and I think this should be able to work. So input from the south, signal strength of 3. So if it's 1, it'll come through here. If it's 3, it'll come through here. And we are just going to output that directly to the north side. So this guy is output to the north side. We'll leave it as power of 15. And we just connect these guys together. Is that going to work? That is not going to work. No worries. We can just put an OR gate. Or gate. And what the OR gate is going to do, as long as one of the inputs is true, it's going to pass that through. You can see the truth table. If you look at your OR gate and hold G on it, you can see what's going to happen over here. So you have your input A and B. As long as one of your inputs or both of your inputs are on, then your output is going to be on. So when both of them are off, this isn't going to get a signal. If both or one or the other is on, this is going to get a signal. I hope that makes sense. So that basically I'm using the OR gate because we couldn't connect these directly to one port, to one of those like points on the output. So anyways, so this basically just means to, again, summarize it for the 5th time for whatever reason, because I like to ramble. If we get a redstone signal of 1 or a redstone signal of 3, we're going to pass that through to our Super Factory Manager, which will trigger our coolant being filled up inside of the reactor. Okay. And that code is pretty simple in our manager. It's basically every 20 ticks due. If it's the manager is receiving any power of redstone signal, so above 0, it doesn't matter if it's 1, whatever, we're outputting a power of 15 from the back because it doesn't matter what it is, right? So this guy is, the strength is set to 15. So any redstone signal that gets to that manager, we're going to input the fluid, which is water from the sink, and we're going to output that fluid to the fission waste port on the west side. So that is all that's doing. So if we have damage or high heat, it's going to shut off the reactor. Well, we haven't programmed that part in yet, but so far we have, it'll trigger this guy, and then this is going to output a signal strength of 1 to the back, which is going to accept that from here, and then trigger the water filling up. So that should be good to go. Now, our next thing is critical waste level. And again, this guy, we're going to be doing the same thing. So from the up direction is going to receive that signal. We are going to use a sequencer again to set this up. So we need the auto port or the reset port to be active, and I'm going to set it to 1 tick. Again, I am going to use another IO port over here, and this guy is going to receive it from the bottom, any strength signal, and we will pulse throttle both of these guys. Boom, 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 boom. So the one from the top is going to be our warning signal coming from the reactor that we have critical waste level, because this is the brown poopy one. And then the one from the bottom is going to be our reset switch, which will reset our sequencer. And this needs to be output somewhere, which will be, what do we need to do? So we need to output to the back here. I guess I want to do the alarm for mechanism. And we can just set this guy over here. Can I not put it upside down? Seriously? Oh, I can. It just doesn't connect to the... Oh my god. It doesn't connect to the redstone conduit. Okay, we'll deal with that later, but the alarm's going to go off anytime there's a shutdown with the sequencers. So where were we? So we need to output to the back side. So this guy is going to be output to east. Output east, and this will be a signal strength of 2, just in case we want to do something with that. I don't know if... yeah, I guess we can do it like that. That's fine. And we're going to do that. So that is basically the same setup as the one next to it. Now, when this guy outputs a redstone signal, it's going to be power of 2, and we need to use that to trigger another super factory manager thing to basically dump the waste into waste barrels. And if I have more waste barrels, and let's grab some fancy super factory manager cables. Can I break this? Yes, I should be good to break this without it leaking. I need another waste port. Or another Fission port. And we can set that up, let's say over here. And use our configurator to change this to output waste. I want to keep this separate from this guy. This will be where we pull the waste to process it into polonium plutonium. And this will just be our failsafe one. And we can connect that with these inventory cables all along here. And we'll put a nice, comfortable amount of waste barrels. That should be fine. Okay. And then we need a super factory manager controller and another disk. So we can basically do that logic. We'll put that manager over here, and that's not going to work, is it? Why can't you connect to Super Factory Manager. I don't know if that's an Ender IO problem or if it's a Super Factory Manager problem, but it would have been very nice if that connected. No worries. We're going to put that guy down here, I guess. Or should I put it directly over the port? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to break this port again. I'm going to move the port over one. The reason why I'm moving the port over instead of just placing our manager directly against it is because I want to be able to look at the port. Otherwise, if our manager was in the way, we wouldn't see it. We'd have to break the manager every time we want to access it. So this will work. And then we just need to put another microchip. Microchip. Let's just make 10 more. Bear with me, guys. Here's the other microchip that's going to output on the red channel. Now this guy is going to be receiving the signal from the north side. So we are going to set that up from the north side. Here's our port. From the north side, we want a signal strength of 2, right? That's the only one we need to accept. So every time we get a signal strength that is exactly 2 from the north side, we are going to pass that to the outside, which will be on the south side to our Super Factory Manager. So output south side, signal of 15. Perfect. Now this guy is set up. So what this means now is when this guy is triggered and it sends a signal of 2, which is if our waste is too high, it's going to trigger this IO port, and that's going to pass the red signal through to our manager. And the only reason this microchip exists is because we couldn't connect the Redstone conduit directly to the Super Factory Manager. So this is going to get a redstone signal, and then we basically need to pull from that port. So again, every 20 ticks do, we're going to input chemical from the waste port, and we will output that chemical to waste barrels. And we need to say bottom side and top side. And I also forgot our logic. So let's indent that. If redstone is greater than 0, then do that. And we need an end to end the if statement. And then the second end is for our every 20 ticks do statement. So this should be good to go now. We will do this. Here's our waste barrels and our waste port over here. So now that is nice. So if this is going somewhere. I believe it's going over here. So let's get rid of this guy because we don't want to fill these in anymore. And we'll clear those labels that are unused. As you can see, these barrels are all still empty. Now, if I activate our thing, you can see that the waste isn't going in there is because it's not above 90%. So we're not going to be wasting any nuclear waste in here unless we need to in an emergency. So that looks like it's set up. Now, I do need to handle I guess we can do that at the end, the resets, and then we'll test it. So now this guy is critical damage. If our damage goes up, again, it's going to be the same thing. So we have the sequencer, we have another IO port, we do the pulse throttles, and then we output to the back. And this guy will be side a signal strength of 3. Oh, so this was the one. Oh, it needs to be output signal strength of 3 on the east side. This one was the critical damage that we already programmed inside of our Super Factory Manager over here in this microchip. And you know what? Something else I'm going to do is that alarm that we had. We can stick that on the bottom of this microchip. Okay, that works. And we'll just do a separate IO thing. If we receive a signal of any kind from this side, which is north, right? So input from north, any signal greater than or equal to 1. Perfect. We are going to output that to the bottom. So output to the down, signal strength of 15. And this will basically, anytime any of those sequencers are triggered, these guys, if anything is active and our reactor is shut off, our alarm is going to sound, the industrial alarm. This basically just makes a loud noise every time there is what do you call it? There's a redstone signal that it receives. So we can do multiple logics inside of a microchip, and this is completely separate from this guy. So this will run our alarm, and this will run our thing. And actually, you can take, let's go ahead and grab more sticky notes. And I will show you this. This is a pretty cool thing too. So you can actually put sticky notes inside over here, and we will edit this guy. Oh, how do I edit? Oh, here. And we will say this will be logic for alarm. So now when I hover over this sticky note inside of here, you can see it's the logic for alarm. And then we can put another one up here and say like it's the logic for the dumping waste or whatever. So that's another cool thing you can do. All right. What's next? This last guy is insufficient fuel, and I don't think we need to do anything for that. Does having insufficient fuel actually cause problems? How does that output when the reactor has insufficient fuel to sustain a reaction? I don't know if that actually causes problems. This shouldn't be a problem for us, but we'll deal with it anyways. Let's go ahead and put that microchip back. It doesn't actually say when it triggers. And I don't know what you can actually do. I don't think if you have, I think if you have insufficient fuel, it just stops working. I don't think you actually have problems with it, but anyways. So there's that. Here's our IO port. So input from the up direction. And again, pulse throttler, we're going to need a reset for that as well. Another pulse throttler and our sequencer, same exact deal. Make this guy 1 tick, enable a reset port. Oh, these guys need to be on 1 ticks too, right? Is that by default? Okay. I believe this is set up already. Now we need to do this guy from the bottom. So if we receive a signal from the bottom, it is going to reset the pulse throttler. And then we need to output a signal of 4 on the east side. Output east 4. Just like that. Okay. So, come on. Oh my God. There we go. I think that's mostly set up. So we have the water logic. We have this logic going. Now, here's our, oh, I shouldn't break that, huh? I need to do that guy. Let's just grab a button and power this guy just to empty that. Perfect. Now I can break this activation port and we'll put that on this side, I guess. Is that going to work? No, because this is the edge. No, I wish I was one thing over. This is going to drive me insane. I guess I could put it right here, but then that's going to be confusing. I can't put it on this row because it's the outside of the reactor. Like this is the wall. It needs to be on the inside part of the walls. I will just... Man, that's really going to annoy me. How do we actually want to run the logic for that? If it's receiving any level of redstone, then we're going to have it shut off. That makes sense, right? And I want it tied in on the same thing. So I guess we'll just put that port over here. This is going to be our activation port. We are going to need another microchip on here. Make sure this is on activation. And so right now the status is that it is powered. Dun, 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 dun. Do I want it to be inverted or not? If I'm receiving a redstone signal, I want this to be on. Right? So I'm going to invert it. Right now it's idle and it says redstone signal absent, provide one to activate. Okay, that is what I want. So we'll put this guy over here, and on this will be outputting output to the top. So whatever signal goes in here, it's going to power it. The way I'm going to power it is by basically using, I want to have a button that I can, so instead of actually going in here and activating it, I want to have a button where I can activate it. So that button will be a signal strength of 5, let's say. And we're going to receive that from this side, which is like that. This we're gonna make it not connect, and this will be output on that side. So some level, we're going to say a signal strength of 5 is going to come in, which will turn it on for us. But also if any of the other ones are coming in, man, how do I want to do this? So we're going to have another, this logic, forget for now. I don't want to confuse you guys. So first of all, we need to, if any of these are active, we're going to have a redstone signal. But we don't want to pass that redstone signal. We want to invert that inside of here. Oh, and that's the wrong side. So from the east direction, we're going to receive a signal. So input from the east, and it's going to be any level, any strength of redstone. I guess we will do less than or equal to 4. So if we get a signal less than or equal to 4, which is going to be one of these triggers, right? So that's going to happen. We are going to want to invert that signal. So we will use a NOT gate. So this will basically flip it. And then this guy I will put as 15, just in case we want to add more things. We can go up to like 5 or 6 or whatever. So this will be 15. And then this guy, and that 15 can actually be on a different side. We'll do the 15 on the bottom. Oops, not that. This guy. Input from the bottom if the signal strength is equal to 15. I guess it could be anything. All right, now let's think about this. So this is the NOT gate. So if one of these is on, if any of these is on, this will power, and then our NOT gate will turn it off. If we're not receiving a signal from any of those, this is going to be on. So right now that we're not receiving a signal from any of those, this should be on. And then the way we turn on our reactor is by having a redstone signal. But if this is off, I don't want it to do that. So we need to use an AND gate. I know that made absolutely no sense. We're going to use an AND gate. And what an AND gate requires is that both of the inputs coming into it needs to be active for it to pass that signal through. So that means both of our things have to be true. And what this is going to do is we're going to have our button from the bottom, or like, let's say a lever, right? So here's our lever down below. So right now, if I turn on this lever, it should start working. It's not. Maybe if I activate it. No, why is that not doing the thing? So right now this not is not going to be outputting a signal, or it should be. We're not getting a signal from anything from here, right? Because these guys are all off. And that signal should be inverted. That's from the east. That is correct. We're going to say input from the down greater than equal to 1. So any signal that comes in, not just the power of 15. That should work. How about a redstone block? And that's going to be outputting to the up. If I get rid of this AND gate, so if I get rid of that and I hook this guy up directly to there, okay, it is working. What the heck? And if I break this, it stops. So if we have a lever, we can now control turning this on and off with that. Great. The question is, why is the AND gate not working? So right now we're not getting any signal less than 4. That means this should be on because it's a NOT gate. It looks like maybe this is on. This looks a little brighter, doesn't it? So what is giving us a redstone signal for? None of those are outputting. Our damage is low, our waste is low, our fuel is up. I mean, if we use a redstone lamp and we put that down here, you can see if we turn this output on the red, you can see this isn't turning off or turning on. So that means there is no redstone signal at all coming through here, which would mean that this is not receiving a redstone signal. So this should be outputting a redstone signal. And if we do this and output that to there, we know this will turn on once we use the lever, and this should be on currently. Pretty sure my logic is correct. Okay, that's gonna mess that up. Why does that not work? All right, guys, so real quick, I talked to Sweds to basically figure out what's going on with this situation. So the way I was interpreting how the IO port works is if it receives a redstone signal between, let's say, 0 to 4, then it's going to allow that level of redstone to flow into the machine, into the little big redstone thing. But that's not actually how it works. It just checks to see if those triggers are true, and then it activates on itself. And what was happening is with it being set to less than or equal to 4, that also includes 0. And when you're not getting a redstone signal, that satisfies the condition where it's receiving a 0 redstone, which is one of the conditions, and it just activates the IO port. So if you wanted to actually limit it to between 1 to 4, then we would have to use an AND gate and then another IO port where it's above 1 and it's below 4, and then combine those two together into the NOT gate. But it's not really a big deal in our case, so I'm just going to leave it as greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so now you guys can see this one is a little bit brighter. So that means there's no signal coming in through here, and because this is brighter, it means it's active. I wish that was a little more pronounced so it was easier to see. But I just changed this to greater than or equal to 1, and I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around why that works. So input signal must be greater than or equal to 1. Okay, but if I make it less than or equal to 4, for some reason, I'm getting a signal from this side, and it's not being flipped. Right now, this one looks brighter. And if I change that to greater than or equal to 1, you can see this one is dim now, and this one is on. I have no idea why it's doing it that way. Because if it's less than or equal to 4, there is no signal coming in that's less than or equal to 4. So then why would this be on? I don't understand. And we can verify that by putting a redstone lamp down here. So if there was any level of signal on the red channel coming in, it would turn on this redstone lamp. But that's not happening. So I don't know why this signal is active from the east side if it's set to less than or equal to 4. I guess I will talk to Sweds and see if he knows what's going on with that. Maybe I'm just missing something simple. You guys, if you notice something in the comments too, let me know. But we'll just, for now, we'll just set this to greater than or equal to 1, or greater than or equal to 1. And that is going to be fine just because any of these that turn on, we're going to trigger it. So any redstone signal we get on this side is going to be triggered. So I'm not too worried about that. So now let's test if this works. Okay, it does. So let's break this lever, and we also need to set up our reset logic. And I'm going to do that on the bottom here. So this is going to be our reset logic, and I will use an RFTools receiver, where we're going to be using a bunch of these receivers. Can I reset these? You can't reset those. Are you kidding me? Then I will just delete them. That's annoying. And we'll make 10 receivers. So this first guy, let's grab a stack of cobblestone so we can make this work. We're almost done, guys. Thank you for hanging in there. So here's our reset. We need to trigger like this. Oops. So this will point into that. And we need a button module and a screen. So I'm going to do more of this RFTools screen shenanigans. And screen, here's a screen. So let's go ahead and set up the screen like over here. And we can control everything from this. And this guy has buttons. So let's delete those buttons. I don't know what they were for. And I do need to scan with this guy. We do have a screen controller over here. So that should be up and running now. Let's go ahead and link our button. And remember, if you're flying, the button doesn't, like, you can hold shift. So the way you link these buttons to the receivers is you shift and then you right click. If you shift and space in the air and you right click, you see it says set channel to 29. But if I look at this, you can see the channel is still unset. So there's a bug actually where it doesn't actually do that. You need to be physically, like, literally standing on a block and do the shift. So you can see now it says set to channel 30. And if we look, you can see it says channel 30. So keep that in mind if your button module is not working and you were flying, that's why. So, okay, that is set. And this is going to input the signal from here. And all of these need to be output on red. And we could probably use a thing to copy settings, but this will be quick enough. Okay, so when we press that button, it's going to pulse our bottom one over here. That is going to reset all of our sequencers at the same time. So if we have any kind of issue, we can basically reset that. So that button we'll just put over here, and we will call this, it's not going to be a toggle. This is going to be Fission reset. We will call it for now. And then we need a toggle to turn it on and off. And that is going to be this guy, right? So now we need another receiver over here. And this receiver will point up into the microchip. And again, we need to be standing to link this. Another button module. So that is channel 31. will call this Fission on off. And it's going to be toggled. So if I press Fission on off, you can see that it is working. If I turn it off, it is now shut off. Perfect. Okay. So our on-off switch is set. Our reset switch is set. All of our logic for everything is set. I think we're done with it. We just need to test it. So let's try that out. I am going to get rid of this tunneled super factory manager thing. So, which means when we turn this on, it's going to lose all of its water. So there it goes. Is it on? Why is it not on? Did I miss the button? Why is this being weird? Okay, this is on. What the heck is being triggered? This is on. Okay, this was high temp. Why did I have high temp? Did it like literally do it that fast? I just missed it. It may have literally done it that fast and I missed it. Because there's steam in it too. That's crazy. Okay, let's turn this off. Right, so it's going to be off. I'm going to hit reset, which means this should be reset now. Look at that. The alarm is off and this guy's reset. Perfect. Now I'm going to temporarily get rid of this and put a lever on here just so I can try that again. Okay, so it does immediately turn off. And that's very annoying. So you can hear that is going. And this is triggered. And you can see it turned this on. Let me go reset that because I'm not going to be able to hear anything. Okay. So I think it's set up. So the heat is working. Now, there's no way I could make the damage work, right? Because it's never gonna, unless I get rid of our super factory manager thing. Okay, let's try that. So let's get rid of our super factory manager disk so we won't be able to fill it up with water anymore. And sorry, I'm gonna break this again. And now let's test it one more time. So now when I turn it on, it's gonna run out of water. The heat temperature went up and it activated. We're still receiving damage. So I'm going to put our disk back and look at that. It's going to fill that up. Our heat is dropping and our damage is dropping. Wonderful. Let's reset it so we can think. Yikes, that thing is loud. Okay, so our damage is working as well. So if you guys missed what happened there, I took out the disk for the super factory manager, filling this guy up with water because it happened so quickly we weren't able to like actually see anything happening. Like because as soon as the water dropped down, like as soon as the temperature went up, it would fix itself so quickly that we couldn't see it. So I sabotaged it for a bit so we got damage, and then it triggered the shutoff triggered with the damage one, I think. Unless it was the heat. Actually, the heat triggered. Where's the damage? The damage didn't trigger. How high is critical damage? Let's try that one more time. Oh, we need to reset it. Okay, so now I turned the lever on, but it didn't turn on because we haven't reset the system. So if I have that off. And we go ahead and reset the system. Boop. This is still on. If I reset the system, I saw it. Maybe the on-off is... Why is that doing that? It's turning on again. Is this on? Oh, that's why. Oh, man. Sometimes... You know, whoops. Okay. So that's reset. Now, these guys are all reset. I want to see how fast the damage happens. So let's take this off again, and we're going to turn it on. So it's 30. When does this kick on? $70, 80%. Still nothing. 95. I don't want to have an explosion. Let's put that in. Okay, the damage, I guess if the damage is above 100%, it triggers. I cannot hear anything. Okay. Verified. So now we know that heat works, damage works. This is full of waste. And then what was this guy? Oh, insufficient fuel. I don't care about the insufficient fuel, but let's check out the waste as well. Are all of these empty? They are not. Okay. So that will make sure those, we can get rid of this now. That was just to empty out those barrels so we can check. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this because we don't need that anymore. And I will go ahead and set this back up. And we will also set up our tunneled SFM thing. So we can output the steam in here. And let's go ahead and turn this on. Okay, so now this guy is running. Our temperature should go down, hopefully, slowly, still. Maybe we should wait until that goes down. No, I don't care. Okay, I'm gonna wait until this, I'm gonna wait a long time until this builds up to 90%, and then we're gonna double check to make sure this works also. And hopefully the reactor will be turned off. So I'll come back when this is closer. All right, guys, here we are, very close. So we should see it turn off and then this emptied. It worked. Amazing. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so now all of these, or I guess a couple of them are going to be full of waste. And now you can see we didn't sustain more damage or anything, and it's staying shut off, even though, oh my God, I need to, that's so loud. I'm going to turn this off and reset it. So you can see, even though it emptied out the waste with the waste tank, it continued to stay off because otherwise, if we didn't have that reset logic, then as soon as this was emptied, it would start again. It would start right up again. So, well, there you have it. I think I've rambled on for long enough. Anyways, this is a way overkill way of setting up the logic for your fission reactor using microchips and all this logic to come up with a random build. This is a lot of fun. It's completely unnecessary, and but I love it. I love doing this kind of stuff. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode where we'll probably do more mechanism stuff by setting up the fusion reactor or making DT fuel or polonium or plutonium or HTP. There's still so much to do. Anyways, bye-bye.